Hello Wolfpack, talking about Bitcoin today. Bitcoin has dropped below on the hourly chart, or on the shorter term time frame, I should say. It even is apparent on the daily chart. We've dropped below the ascending wedge formation, and hence we need to be looking at a logical, rational target for Bitcoin. And that target is going to be coming from a first test of the top of the wedge to the first test of the bottom of the wedge. Just a simple extrapolation of data, applying that to the breakout point, and we can see that the clear target for Bitcoin now is the 33k region, right? Similar to the bottom we just had here at 33k on January 25th. Now, whether we will actually reach that target is a separate question we need to be analyzing, but that is the target of the wedge breakout. Now, the reason why I said whether we will be reaching that target or not is because we are seeing for the first time here some bullish divergence on Bitcoin on the hourly chart, which is good to see. Does it mean we'll just continue back upwards? I don't think so. However, it can mean, all right, and keyword can mean, we could be forming a higher low on a shorter term or longer term time frame, in which we don't actually come all the way down to 33k. We actually stop here and we swing back upwards to the upside. Now, it's a possibility. Do I think it's the likely one? No, I don't think it's a likely one, and I don't have any actual evidence to confirm that's going to be happening yet, other than very shorter term bullish divergence, which just isn't enough for me, to be honest. And as of right now, we need to be assuming the logical scenario, which is that we just trend downwards as we have broken out of that ascending wedge formation, trend downwards towards 33k, and then retest 33k, and then we can, potentially talk about a double bottom formation. But as of right now, I would say 33k is next. And obviously, if you guys haven't watched my channel before, and if you guys have watched my channel, you would know that my prediction for Bitcoin is the 200-week SMA. And the reason being, well, there's multiple reasons. I'm not going to go too deep into them. But the fact that the Gaussian channel is flipping red, we haven't done that before unless we've gone to the 200. We've dropped below the 50-week. We don't do that without going to the 200 historically either. And the 200 is in a pretty valid region at around 20k right now. And by the time we get there, will be anywhere between 20 and 24k depending on the time frame, and that is a valid region of support. We have support at 24k and we have support at 20k. Okay, I've been calling for this since the high 50ks, and I'm not going to step away from it now, especially since we're in the 30k region. Why would I step away from my prediction since 50ks at the 30k region? We're very, very close to getting there. With interest rates rising in March, it seems likely. But you guys would already know this, and if you don't know this, I'd encourage you to look at my older videos. I don't want to spend too long explaining it, but the point is, I think we're going to be trending downwards, and I think we're going to be reaching that region as soon as March or as late as November, depending on the scenario. I've got the yellow scenario here and the orange scenario here. Now, the orange scenario includes a bigger dead cat bounce, where I think we'll be rejected at around the 40 to 48k region via the raising of interest rates in March, around that time frame. And the yellow scenario is just the trend is your friend kind of mindset, in which we just keep going down in this downwards channel, because we are very much in a downwards channel. Now, as of current price action, nothing really too unique to talk about here on Bitcoin. What I can say is that we do have bullish divergence on the MACD, right? We have lowering lows in the MACD. And potential bullish divergence, in which we might be seeing hiring lows as well. And the same thing with the RSI. But again, nothing's actually played out yet, and so I would be skeptical of actually taking that too seriously. There's a lot of things that have been going on throughout this entire correction, and the pink line is the trend line you should be looking at right now. Throughout this entire correction, there's been a lot of things going on that would lead the bulls to believe that, hey, this is the reversal, this is the bottom. But in reality, none of those things have actually played out. They've all been speculation, and they've all been, if this happens, this, whereas none of it's actually concrete data, and the bulls still have the concrete data outside. The concrete data is this pink line, this downtrending line, and the concrete data is coming from the bull market support band, the 50, the 200, the Ichimoku cloud, and the Gaussian channel, and also the volume profile. There is multiple things that we can look at for the bullish argument to determine that this is actually a very strong downwards trend. And until we see a full reversal from 48k, which is where I'm looking at for invalidation, this is still a downwards trend. Even if we break this pink line, I will not be bullish on the market. 48k is what is needed at this point in time, in my opinion. Now, if we break this pink line, that would be the catalyst to a potential 48k retest, and it would be the catalyst to this orange scenario playing out. However, we've just been rejected from this pink line. I think it's way too soon to start speaking about breaking it, right? We've literally just been rejected from it. We've broken a ascending wedge to the downside right on top of this line, and we've actually come down, and we've rejected from a sub kind of, well, I don't know what you'd call it, but a secondary line here, and headed further down. Now, right now, we're seeing a little W formation at the bottom. We could come back up and test this pink line again, and we'll have another opportunity to break out. But ultimately, what I'm seeing right now is very low volume on Bitcoin, and I'm doubting that will happen, although I'm recognizing the possibility. Now, we can see that in this upwards trend, this small upwards trend, we've seen exceptionally low volume on the green candles, and even the red candles haven't seen much volume. But when you see low volume in a small upwards trend, trend, you start to notice that the trend is not very sustainable. But then you can zoom out and you can see that throughout this entire downwards trend from November, we've seen consistently rising volume on a longer term scale, which means that this downwards trend is very strong still, and the shorter term upwards trends within the downwards trends are actually very weak. And so to kind of conclude here, we can see that, well, there are signs, and there have been signs for a while, that we could be seeing something start to materialize. But until that materializes, it's all just speculation, right? And as of right now, the trend is still downwards, and we're still going to be targeting 33k. I think we'll reach 33k within about a week here on Bitcoin. If we do break above, let's say, this pink line, which is very, very, shortly above us here, this pink line's at 38k right now. Say we come up, break above 38k, close a daily candle above it, we can start to talk about a scenario in which we see a dead cat bounce to 48k. I'm not denying that possibility. That is very much a possibility. In fact, it's not even very unlikely. It's relatively likely. But I would say right now, I'd have to go with the technical analysis. I'd have to be objective on the market. And being objective, we can see that, well, what's actually happened is we've breaking this ascending wedge structure, the volume's declining, and so we have no logical reason to kind of favor the other scenario in which we break upwards. For the most favorable scenario, and again, it's a game of probabilities, not certainties, but the most favorable scenario is we do something like this and then trend downwards to 33k, and then, potentially see some bullish price action. But ultimately, the direction of Bitcoin is downwards. I think we will still have that strong possibility of heading downwards towards the 200-week SMA. In fact, that's my prediction, and it still, has been my prediction for months, and it still is. I think the 200-week SMA is the bottom zone for Bitcoin. I think on a macro scale, regardless of what happens in the next week or 2 weeks, on a macro scale, traditional markets don't look good. Interest rates are going to be risen, and a cryptocurrency is on lows we haven't seen in over 2 years on things like Google Trends, which shows a dramatic level of a lack of retail interest in cryptocurrency. There is nothing here that I'm looking at on these charts that would indicate to me that we're going to be seeing a reversal or a full reversal. There are things I could look at that would say, oh, we're going to 48k, but ultimately, if we do that, it's going to look something like this, in my opinion, and then we just head back downwards, and it will ultimately just delay the process. I think that a lot of people should be hoping here for a continuation of a downside so we can get this drop over with, and and then later in the year we can start thinking about bullish scenarios again. But I'll be interested to see what happens in the next few days. This update video is not really too much to update, but it is just to say that, hey, this wedge has been broken. For those of you who haven't watched my videos in the last couple of days, this wedge has been broken. We're below the critical line still, and I'd be very cautious about getting bullish in this region, even though the shorter term time frame might not look too bad. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.